Jones. We're going to kick this off with an absolute legend. He needs no introduction, but I'm here to do it anyway. It's my absolute honor to welcome to the stage, William
Hi, everybody! Thank you for being here, thank you. So, where to start, huh? Listen, come on down. I don't know what you're doing way up there. There's seats down here. So, where to start? I have some new material.
All right.
A wonderful police officer, a lady who's retired now, yesterday sat at my table and told me this story. That as something I did when I played Captain Kirk, I did something to help a person live, probably mouth to mouth or the heart. And she, as a police officer, she was in a small town and she just dragged in, she had no training. So now she gets a call, baby's dying, and they get over there and she doesn't know what to do. She hasn't had the medical training that ordinarily policemen get. She remembered what I did, and she brought the baby back to life, and she told me that. It then reminded me of another story. I did a series called Rescue 911 some years ago. And now they're told to wait, and she's got this terrible headache. So, like her head is going to split open. And on the television set, in the waiting room, is this show, Rescue 911. And the drama of the Rescue 911 show was a family that was suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning from the gas stove that had been left on. And she says, wait a minute, those are my symptoms. So they run to their car, they race back to the house, they found that, whatever the problem was, closed and got the children out, and her life and their lives were saved as a result of knowing that there was carbon monoxide. So I thought that the lady policeman, the policewoman's story was really interesting for me. The length that these shows, that things on television, the depths and the lengths they reach people and continue for years. It's really amazing. And partially that's what brought you here, and I'm very grateful. So, ask me, somebody who's not up there, I can't see, okay, what's your question?
Well, hello, Mr. William Shatner. My question is, how does it feel knowing that you are the face of Star Trek, but also the face of Michael Myers?
I find it hard to choose which is which. They're both frightening to me. That's funny. Well, I did 3 years as Star Trek as Captain Kirk. But the Michael Myers thing is, so while doing Star Trek, they did what they call a death mask on me, so that they could put, I was covered in plaster with 2 straws sticking out of my nose so that I could breathe. And then they had a plaster mask of me, and then they put plastic in it. And so they had a whole mask of my face, on which they would, when they had me in all kinds of makeup, they would put the makeup first on this plastic mask, rather than having me lie on a table for hours. They would do it on this mask of my face. So it was helpful for makeup. So now the show is canceled. And somebody, I've never found out who, says, let's use the mask for Halloween. And we'll produce, a lot of them and send them out to these Halloween stores and maybe we can make a bundle off of Shatner's face. So they did that, unbeknownst to me. And so there they were in a Halloween store. Meanwhile, they're doing, what was it, Scream? Was that the name of the film? So meanwhile, they're about to film Scream, and they need a face on the bad guy. So as I understand it, the director said, go to the Halloween store and pick out a mask. So the person runs over, picks out this mask that was made for me, and says, here you are. And he says, that's perfect. It looks, grotesque. And so ever since then, I've had a grotesque image. Anyway, it was quite funny situation that this movie became popular and the bad guy had my face on it. Your next question, my dears. Over here?
Hi there.
Al.
I am Gabriel.
Where?
Okay.
Okay, good, gotcha.
I am Gabriel from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. 5 people from Puerto Rico, just applaud.
All people. So I was thinking, who better to answer this than someone who has truly experienced most of what life has to offer, even flying up to space. For you, what is the purpose of life?
To ask questions like that. The purpose of life? Well, that's a really good question that I'm sure many books and lectures have been given about the purpose of life, and nobody quite knows. I mean, why is our life any more important than slime, which can, if you put slime in a puzzle, in a puzzle root, this slime can find its way towards where the sun is so it can live. In other words, something in slime is so purposeful that it demands life, which is for slime, sunlight. The way vines will vie with each other. There's a war going on in everywhere for life. But when you think of trees and grass and bushes and vines climbing up and stepping on, literally, other vines to reach the sky so that they can live, what is the purpose of their life? They demand slime and ivy. They demand life as well. So I don't think you can say human life is any more important than that. In fact, human life came billions of years after algae migrated from the oceans in primitive times to the earth, became grasses and became bushes and became trees. And we now know that trees talk to each other. Not just in pheromones wafting downwind so that a tree is being attacked by beetles sends a scent, a signal to trees downwind. There are beetles attacking me, and the trees downwind make their sap more toxic so the beetles won't eat them and kill them. We now know something even more profound. We've discovered in the last several years that trees talk to each other with electrochemical signals. They use the underground stuff. What grows underground? What? Roots, but mycelium. They use the mycelium that are long vines upon which, for example, mushrooms grow. And there's this whole underground life form that because it's underground, we don't see it, we don't know it. And then every so often a mushroom will pop up, and great authors like the guy who did Sherlock Holmes,
Doyle.
who wrote out
Conan Doyle.
Doyle wrote that he thought they were fairies, that they were alive. This great writer, Sir Alexander Doyle, wrote that these mushrooms are magic. They're fairy. They are. They're the fruit of the mycelium underground. Trees use the mycelium or mycelium from tree to tree and send electrochemical signals. Our brains use electrochemical signals along our dendrites. The trees are using the same mechanism to signal that we use in our brains. How far apart is a tree from us in life? So, what is the meaning of life? I think the meaning of life is life. That there is a demand by whatever causes life to be alive. And it goes for microbes in rocks from outer space. And it goes for worms existing in hot vents under the sea at 600 degrees Fahrenheit. So the absolute freezing of space and 600 degrees Fahrenheit, there's still life. So how dare we say, what is our meaning in life? We have to ask, what is the meaning of life in the universe? Because there is life in the universe. Thank you. And of course I have no answer for that. Just another question. Yes, next question.
Mr. Shatner, I don't know how I can follow that up. You can either answer
yes or no.
recall your time you canoed from Montreal to New York City, which I read in one of your books, or you can talk about.
Wait a minute, say that again.
Did you canoe from Montreal to New York City as a child?
I did.
Yeah, I would like to hear that story.
Oh, canoe. Yeah, so I worked at a welfare camp I'm born in Montreal, and north of Montreal are these wonderful mountains, like the Adirondack, same chain of mountains. And there was a boys' camp for poor kids in the city of Montreal, and I was a counselor there. I was 18 years old, and I didn't know anything. And these were kids from Europe who had seen their parents killed. These were not normal children. These were children who had lived through hell and death and destruction. I mean, the things they saw, we can't even imagine. So these were tough kids. And the only way I had of controlling the bunk that I was responsible for was they always wanted me to tell them ghost stories. I had a talent for telling stories, as you can tell. And I would tell them these terrible ghost stories. The Hidden Heart, I think it is, where there's a heart beating in the house, and the guy there doesn't know where it's coming from. But could it be the person he buried inside the cement down in the cellar? And then the door is knocked. He runs to the door, and there's somebody there saying, "Have you heard this beating heart?" And it's the whole story about ghosts and beating hearts and dead bodies in the cellar. I was in demand to tell that story. And unless you listen to me, you better do what I'm saying. Everybody in file, we're going to eat now, or I won't tell you a story tonight. And so I was a counselor at this camp. And so there was a lot of hardy Canadians. And towards the end of that first year that I was this counselor, the head of the camp, I even remember his name. I can't remember Dendrites, but I can remember Scotty Brotman's name. So Scotty Brotman said, anybody who would like to go, I'm being attacked by a fly here, or maybe it's not a fly. So Scotty Brotman said, I've got this Indian war canoe. It seats 8 people. I'm one. So there's 7 counselors. Who wants to cough? Who wants to cough? I said, I'll cough. So Scotty Brotman said, we've got room for 7 people. What I want to do is take this war canoe from Montreal up the St. Lawrence River to the Richelieu River, which runs into or runs out of Lake Champlain, paddle the length of Lake Champlain, which is, I don't know, 150 miles or something, portage to Lake George, which is an alpine lake, the length of Lake George to the headwaters of the Hudson River, and then down from the headwaters of the Hudson River to New York City. It will take 8 days. Who wants to go? I put my hand up. So I paddled when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Took 8 days, saw all these wonderful things that are now big cities, and made it to 72nd Street in New York. We were on television, crazy Canadian kids paddling along the way. It was a beautiful event in my life, and it is also, they want to get in. Somebody give them a seat. It was also my seeing nature in its rawness, which is now all built up in our cities and our civilization has taken over. In fact, one of the songs that I wrote for a performance at Kennedy Center I did some while ago was 8 Days on the River, and it's celebrating that event. Save the applause and just throw money or something. Next question.
Hi, my name is Keith. I'm from Oklahoma.
Okay, Pete from Oklahoma.
Keith. And I kind of think you answered your question by that story there, because about the meaning of life, you were making life better for those kids at that camp. And I think that's what a lot of us are called to do, where places are destroyed or messed up, or even kids that need some help.
Everybody needs help.
Yeah, and you did that at a very young age. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to a group this morning, and an educator asked me, like what's important to teach. You know, I know nothing. I'm totally aware of how stupidly ignorant I am about everything. I have no answers. All I have is an opinion. Okay? So what I told her, in my opinion, that the thing you need to teach children, and teach everybody, I mean adults as well, is awareness of the miracle that we're living. No matter how bad our circumstances are, we're still living a conscious miracle. We can be conscious of the person beside us. We can be conscious of the tree, the dog, the sky, the joke, everything. We can't allow ourselves in life to be callous enough not to be aware of everything. If you can teach a child, learn to study science, study medicine, study arithmetic, study algebra, it's all a miracle. Pick from the things you learn, the things that interest you, and then further it. But be aware, the miracle of life is in front of all of us, and we can't lose that consciousness. That's what I said. What are you doing? You giving me money? Oh, give you money? No, sweetheart, thank you. But give it to somebody who needs it. That's right. You know what I did? Is this mic on? Can you hear me? What I did, that was interesting. You gave the dollar bill to your friend and pass it on to somebody who needs it. Every so often, I'm given the keys to a city. You know, oh, here comes Shatner. Oh, God, well, here's the key to a city. So it's good publicity for the mayor, you know. And I don't know what do I need a key to a city for? My question is, where's the lock? But what I did a while ago, and I've done it a number of times now, is I've signed it. I've signed it. And I've said to the audience, hey audience, bid on this key. They bid money, and it'll go to the charity that they pick. Okay, that's one. Two is, the person who bid, who gets the key, has to find a bidder for that to give the money to charity. So it's pass it on. And I've done that in 2 or 3 places, and apparently it's working. So if the key comes up for bidding, give the money to charity and your dollar bill. Next question.
Well, I didn't get to answer my question.
Well, what's your question?
Well, you started talking and I didn't get
You know what would be better for me if you started talking.
Okay.
And what's the meaning of life?
Let's pick up off of that and go to speaking of those that were beside us. How many times do you think you hid Leonard's bicycle from him on
That's a fun moment.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that story about Leonard and Moy's bicycle. We would shoot Star Trek on a stage that had a number, I think it was 33 or something like that. Far, far way up where the lot is, way up at the far end of the lot. The commissary, where people would eat, was way down there. So it took 10 minutes. They would say lunch, and we'd walk down to the commissary. But you only had a half an hour for lunch. So there's this long line, like the line getting in from the cars this morning. That was unbelievable. So there'd be this long line of people waiting to get lunch. And you couldn't get lunch in time to get back because you had to be there shooting. So the solution to that was to get there as quickly as possible. So I was a pretty good athlete as a kid, and I ran very fast. So when the first assistant would say, all right, everybody, lunch, I was out like a pro. And I'd be in time to get some lunch. Whereas Leonard was tall and gangly, he was a swimmer, would get and he would eat lunch. so one day, he brought his bike to the studio. And when the guy said, Leonard was out of the door on his bike and he was first in line at the commissary. So the next day, well, he wasn't looking. I had brought a chain and a lock, and I locked the bike to a hydrant. And I'm out the door. Leonard runs to his bike, can't get his bike. He says, Shatner! Next day, he brought a pair of bolt cutters, and he cut the chain. Got there first. I got there first. So the next day, I said to Leonard, he said, we had lunch and we ran out, no bike. He said, Shatner, where's my bike? I said, Leonard, people are stealing bikes in the studio. It's in my dressing room. It's just right over there. Go to my dressing room. I put it away for safekeeping. So he runs to my dressing room. Oh, shoot. I forgot to tell him. My 2 Dobermans were in the... So the last day, to give you a number, I put my arm around him and I said, come here. And I took him into the stage and I said, Leonard, lift your eyes to the sky. And he looked up. There on a spotlight, up on the roof, was his bike. I put it Yes, sir.
Hi, William. My name is Tasso, and so last August I was actually visiting Lake George, New York, and I happened to find this pretty cool Star Trek museum. And
at
Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga.
Right. So I don't know if you want to share about that with the audience, but I also was just if there are any other museums like that that would be good to visit.
Well, in Ticonderoga, upstate New York, it's a legendary town where I think the Indians, the English, the French, and the Americans all fought a war. So there was a big fort in Ticonderoga and a small town of Ticonderoga. And this guy by the name of James Collin, who had perfected an act of impersonating Elvis. The guy from a small town, James Collin, and he gets great at it. And he tours with it, and he makes a great deal of money touring with his band as Elvis. Played Las Vegas, he won all kinds of awards and made a lot of money. Comes back to Ticonderoga, and because he started work as a, I don't know what you call a male seamstress, but he sewed. And he was hired to sew Star Trek costumes. Bill Tice was the designer of the costumes, and he hired James Collin to help sew these costumes, especially the women's wear. And somehow, James got a copy of the blueprint of all the permanent sets that were on stage 32, whatever it was. So James Collin comes back to Ticonderoga and builds himself in a big building, exact replica of all the sets. And people come to see it, pay money. And he's building the next generation sets. And he's making a fortune bringing the actors up. So every so often I'll go up and do this talk. But what I try to do, it's kind of a magical thing when it happens. The Native American name for a talk is a Chautauqua. And it's a lovely sounding word, Chautauqua. And I would have a Chautauqua in the control room. So it'd be 50, 60, maybe 100 people sitting on seats in the control room. And I wanted to keep it futuristic. And the people that turned up to be like one of those 100 people were professors and scientists. I mean, the quality of the audience audience, unlike this one. The quality of the audience is, like yourselves, I really mean it. I mean, you hear the questions, is so beautiful that what evolved out of the Chautauqua was a subject matter. It came about almost like a ghost, like a spirit, like there was smoke and then the smoke went, and finally we had this subject. And it might have been, for a doctor, I'm talking about what the future of medicine is. And then people chime in on the future of this and that. And it becomes a really extraordinary experience. I've been up there many times, and the same people are there, and they verify that each of these hour talks are totally different from each other. So it's been a really great experience for me to help guide these Chautauquas up there. So if you're going to do anything like that, you'll have a great time in a science fiction way to these sets up there. Okay? Question?
Dan from here in San Antonio. I just wanted to say that my grandmother was a really big fan of yours. It was
God, couldn't it be your daughter or something? It would have to be your I'm waiting for the person's, my great-grandmother.
No, I just wanted to say that it was her dying wish to meet you, so I'm glad you came to this. Thank you for being an inspiration to a lot of generations and for future generations to come.
But what's your question? I mean, can I date your grandmother? What's your question?
Well, that was what I wanted to say.
Yeah, but that's a statement. You need a question. Otherwise, we'll never know your grandmother.
Well,
Will you go ahead? Well,
what was it like working
there you go.
with
What was it
a lot
like?
of...
That's certainly the beginning of a question.
Well, what was it like working with
Who?
Leonard
Now you're going to reveal yourself. What was it like to work with
Leonard Nimoy.
Revelation coming?
Leonard Nimoy. What was it like working with him?
I wrote a book called Leonard a while ago. Leonard, along the way, became my dearest friend, became the brother I never had. I loved him. And I believe he loved me. And the strangeness is that he was born in Boston. I was born in Montreal, which is, a while, 300 miles from Boston, but the same kind of older city with a history, with people. He was born, the same kind of family. He was born with the desire to be an actor. He said the same kind of struggle I had as an actor. His life was filled with some of the same incidences of mine, with divorce and death and, the difficulty of life as well as the joys. And we shared that life. And so many times we would be in a car together going someplace and we'd talk, or we'd be on stage making each other laugh. It was a great relationship. And so I wrote this book about the things we did together. The only thing that happened that I can't understand, we were, sometime prior to him dying, we were all in a car together. He and I and 3 or 4 other actors going somewhere in a limo. And we were smoking. And somebody said, I'm giving up smoking, and threw the cigarette out the window. And I said, yesterday I went to kiss my baby, hello or goodbye, and she said, oh, Daddy, you smell of smoke. I said, I'm quitting smoking. I don't want to smell like a cigarette to my children. And each one of the actors there said, I'm giving up smoking for their reason. The only one who didn't give up smoking was Leonard. And he died of emphysema. So my thought is this. For about 3 months prior to him dying, he wouldn't see me. I kept saying, he absolutely would have nothing to do with me. I wrote him a note because I knew he was dying. I wrote him a note saying how much I cared about him and how I don't understand why he won't talk to me, but whatever it is, I still love you. And I don't know whether they read the note to him or not, but that was the end of the relationship. So it's a bit bizarre. I still don't understand it. Okay?
Thank you.
Question.
Aloha, Jamie.
Aloha?
Aloha. I'm from Maui, Lahaina. I actually kind of piggyback on what he said. I want to thank you for being an inspiration to many people. I think that's a wonderful gift that you were given. My question, I hope is not a little deep, but where do you see the evolution of acting with AI and the human connectivity?
Yeah. You know, there was a strike last year. It went on for, I think, the longest strike ever, over that question. AI, as we all know, is an extraordinary invention by this duality that humans have. We humans are part devil and part God. We destroy things, we make war, we kill. We have no consciousness. So few people have consciousness about other lives, not just human, but animal, plant. We have so little consciousness of our place on Earth and therefore in the universe. We destroy, we eat up, we muck up, we defile, we crap on everything. You know, we're in Texas, and in the North Pacific, there is a plastic garbage pail the size of Texas in the North Atlantic, filled with all the debris. Apparently, currents from the Pacific sweep up there, and everything is put into the ocean, eventually ends up there. It's horrific. We've invented, for example, we invented plastic. Plastic takes the place of paper. We don't need to cut down any more trees. What a benefit. What a great thing, plastic. It's indestructible. Oh my God, it's ending up in the ocean. Oh my God, the action of the ocean waves chip off these little bits of plastic, which the fish are ingesting, which we ingest. Everything here, everybody here has little bits of plastic floating in their blood. We don't know what it's doing to us and what it's going to do to us because we're getting more and more in our blood. Plastic, what a benefit, what a curse. And that's mankind. We invent hi-fi, Wi-Fi, we invent the means of reaching all around the world, of spreading information. We now have the ability with our phones to source every library about anything. You can ask your phone any question, it'll answer it. It's the most miraculous thing, and it's getting bigger and better. The invention of some mechanical thing that can reach that Wi-Fi, source every bit of information there, bring it back to you, and you can make what you will of it. Not only that, it can imitate your voice. It can imitate your likeness. It's an incredible invention that if it's used properly, there's no telling where humankind can end in a short while. From the bed, right now, cancer is being cured by access to information that doctors don't have time to get to. But that this new invention will evolve. It's a miracle. And yet, along with plastic and everything else, the potential to harm humans, the potential to have somebody who looks like somebody but isn't, saying things that that person wouldn't say, is there. It's in front of us. How do we handle that? We've got to, before it's all too late, we've got to handle global warming. We've got to handle AI. We've got to think about it. The good things, the beneficial part of our mind has got to come to solutions that guide the other part of our minds, which are equally valuable. They're the part that makes us reach out. They're the parts that lead to exploration. They're the parts of egotistical men inventing things, making things happen. We need both parts of our nature. But we can't destroy what we make. We have to, I don't know what the answer is, but we have to do something about this two-sided aspect of our nature. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been